Hello, welcome to the OSU Sports Extra podcast. The Cowboys continue to build on their NCAA resume. It was softball media day, and we'll also recap signing day. I'm Patrick Prince, joined by Dean Rule. We'll jump into all this right after a short break. All right, Dean. So let's start with basketball a little bit. Bedlam win the other night. Good win on the resume. They have an even bigger opportunity tomorrow. We're filming this on Friday. Tomorrow's Saturday when they play TCU. So what do you say about, I'm probably going to ask you this question several weeks in a row here as we're leading up to the tournament. But how is OSU's NCAA tournament resume looking right now?
Well, if you listen to the experts, Patrick, they'll tell you that they're in. They're going to be. They've been a bubble team kind of since conference play started. Some weeks they're projected to be in the tournament, other weeks they're projected out. But right now, Joe Lunardi over at ESPN Bracketology. I know there's a lot of people that like to follow that. He says the Cowboys are in the last four in categories. That puts them about team 68 of 68, and I'd probably put them about an 11 seed, a 12 seed in the tournament. So yeah, right now they're in because I thought Bedlam, they showed some stuff that there were questions going into Bedlam that they were able to answer. And I think that was really important for this team going forward, going into kind of this back half of conference play, final stretch of the regular season. And yeah, they're going up against a really good TCU team on Saturday. TCU's got the ability to force a lot of turnovers and not turn the ball over a lot themselves. So once again, when we talk about OSU has some questions that need to be answered, here's one of them. Can OSU handle, being smart with the basketball, not turning it over against a team that's good at forcing you to turn it over? OSU's had this weird thing where they've struggled with that at times. Protecting the ball, and we'll see if they can do that against TCU, and if they can, all signs point to there could be an upset tomorrow in Stillwater, Patrick.
So I was watching the Bedlam game on TV the other night, and the broadcast team, they were big fans of OSU in terms of their NCAA tournament prospects. They were like, "Oh yeah, this is very much a tournament team," and one of the guys even said, maybe even a second weekend type NCAA tournament team. Well, that would be 2 wins. So we'll see. Is this what you expected out of this team?
I think so. I think this would be the expectation right now, or this would have been, I think, the expectation going into the season, that this is a bubble team, I think I would have leaned toward they are going to make the tournament at the start of the season just because of the Big 12, and there's so much opportunity to get those signature wins, those like you said earlier, those resume builders. And they've already got one. They beat Iowa State. I think this past Bedlam game was big for them because they showcased a lot, mostly in the front court, getting Musa Cisse back. And being able to show kind of the pairing of Caleb Boone and Musa Cisse down in the center in the post was really important. And as we saw, 44 of their 71 points on Wednesday, Patrick, came from points in the paint. Mm-hmm. I think that's an area that OSU has struggled with at times, and getting both those guys back and getting to showcase what that looks like is, I think, gives fans a glimpse of what to expect there. But yeah, I think this is what you came to expect. If everything went right, then I think they are a top half Big 12 team. If everything went wrong, then they're way down in the cellar, and I thought they'd be somewhere in between, which is where they're sitting at right now. But yeah, in the Big 12 with so much opportunity against all these ranked teams, you've got a good chance to build a resume and get in as an at-large bid come March.
Yeah, for sure. I'll tell you what, let's talk a little bit about softball, but before we do, anything else on basketball you want to get into? Well, I'll tell you what, before we get to softball, let's talk a little bit more in detail about TCU tomorrow. What do you see going on there?
Well, they've got one of, I think, the most dynamic scores in the Big 12 I think they've got dynamic scoring and they've got great rebounding. And that's going to be an issue for anybody. They've got somebody, who I'm sure any Big 12 basketball fan is going to know about, Mike Miles. He's averaging 18.1 points per game, Patrick, which is third among all Big 12 players, only behind Kansas's Jalen Wilson and K-State's Keontae Johnson, who are both National Player of the Year level guys. And fun fact, I found this out today. He used to be roommates with Cade Cunningham. Fun OSU fact that doesn't really do anything for anybody right now, but I did read that today when I was looking up Mike Miles. And then down low, they've got two forwards who both average 6.5 rebounds per game, which is also top 10 numbers in the Big 12, and that's Emmanuel Miller and Eddie Lampkin. So they're big down low. They've got great shooters. There's a reason they're a top 15 team, Patrick. They've kind of got all the pieces that you'd want. They have a complete team. I know Mike Boynton says Iowa State is the most complete team in the Big 12. I think TCU's right up there. They're 17-5. You're going to be a good team. You're a good team if your record looks like that. And other OSU fun fact about TCU is Rondell Walker, Patrick. He plays at TCU. He transferred there this offseason. Doesn't play a ton. I think he's averaging about 12 minutes and 3 points a game. So I don't think you'll see a ton of him in Gallagher-Iba Arena tomorrow, but he is there nonetheless.
The key for an OSU upset tomorrow is what?
Good question, Patrick. I think if you're OSU, you need to keep doing what you've been doing offensively, which is playing up tempo, playing faster. But when you play that style, OSU's tended to turn the ball over a little bit more. So you got to play fast basketball, up tempo basketball, but clean. That's, I think, key number one. Key number two, I would say, is we got to win the rebounding battle just because of the talent TCU has there and the opportunity, the scoring opportunity, the second chance points that provides to TCU is going to win them a lot of ball games. So if you get Musa back, if you've got Caleb Boone going, that's going to be important to win that rebounding battle. And then lastly, you got to hit your free throws, Patrick. They've lost some games because they've had some free throw issues. And I think they've gotten better because they are a very good free throw shooting team, but they've had some bad outings. So it seems kind of silly to say that that's such an important factor, but they've lost some games because they've shot poorly from the free throw line. So I'd say that's important for them too.
All right, let's move on to softball a little bit. You were at the softball media day, and we got some good softball in this state, Dean. We got the reigning national champion OU Sooners down the road, but the Oklahoma State Cowgirls are the reigning Big 12 champions. So they're looking pretty good too. What'd you find out today?
Yeah, Patrick, I love softball, man. I think it's a great sport. It's weird though, going out on a roughly 30-degree day to go talk about softball. February is always weird. I'm like, I know it's when the season starts up, but I'm not really ready for it just because of the weather. But no, there was a lot of interesting stuff. Kenny Gajewski likes to talk a lot, Patrick. He went for about an hour today, and there was all kinds of great stuff that he shared. I think the big takeaways, if we're just talking beginning of the season stuff that I found interesting, they might be relying on a four pitcher rotation. And that's something that they've not done really. They've really had, 2 or 3 arms this season that they rely on, to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There were a couple new additions that he really likes, and he said they could be rolling with 4 pitchers on a weekend. And I found that really interesting, and talking with Kelly Maxwell, who, I guess not to throw a hot take at you right now, Patrick, I think she might be the best pitcher in the country this year. I really do. I know Jordy Ball's right down the road, and she's great, and people love her over at OU. But I think Kelly Maxwell could probably go pound for pound with her, and that's going to be the pitching showdown, I think, of the year when OSU and OU play late in the season. I think it's May, last weekend of the regular season. But so I thought that was interesting, and they've got some new additions something else. So they had who Kenny Gajewski says is going to start at left field for them, Patrick. Her name is Talon Edwards. She technically is supposed to be a senior in high school at Southmore, but she was able to reclassify, come to OSU, and she is now expected to start for them out in left field, which I think is incredibly interesting. And I talked to a couple of players about her, just like what that mentality is needed to be an 18-year-old starting for a team that is ranked either number one or not number one, excuse me, number 2 or number 3 in the country by pretty much any poll, puts them in one of those 2 spots. And they said, she's got some growing to do just as a human, because Patrick, I'll be honest with you, I look back to when I was 18 years old. No way in heck you could have me starting in a situation like that. But they said, she's got the confidence, she's got the ability, the talent to be able to do this, and they're really looking forward to what she can do for them. So I think, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Say her name one more time for us.
Talon Edwards.
So she's supposed to be a high school senior currently. What's up with that?
So she's supposed to be a senior in high school. She reclassified. So she took all these classes over the summer to get her credits up and be able to graduate early, and then enrolled at OSU.
Okay, so it's not that unlike an early football enrollee that we've been.
No,
it's just that the softball season is now, so she can play now.
Yeah, so I guess it is somewhat similar to an early enrollee with football. It's somebody who has graduated high school early, enrolled in college early, to be able to play with the team. So she's been at OSU since the fall semester, and she got to play fall ball with the Cowgirls. She took all her classes for what would have been her senior year in high school. She took all those classes over the summer to be able to graduate after her junior year in high school and enroll at OSU.
Okay, so that's different than from a mid-year football enrollee then. That's that's different. Wow, okay. So she's going to be the starting left fielder.
Yeah, and I asked Kenny Gajewski, I said, when you signed her, did you expect that? He said, absolutely. I expected her to be a starter for us. So that tells you the level of talent they've got there. And it might be raw this year. She was still a freshman, but I think that just shows you the talent that she's bringing to them.
Absolutely. All right. What other little nuggets did you gather from Media Day?
They've got a transfer from Purdue, Rachel Becker, who Kenny Gajewski spoke highly of her ability, and she's a graduate transfer. She'll be playing second base for them this year. And then they've got their Kylie Naomi will be shortstop. She's been there forever. Same with Cheyenne Factor up in center field. She'll be playing there. It's very interesting, Patrick, for a program that's recruited so well and been so big, and it's kind of the antithesis of Mike Gundy a little bit, because, he always said he wasn't a big fan of the transfer portal. Kenny Gajewski loves it. He's gone in there multiple times now and really kind of, instead of rebuilding the roster, he's retooled. He's gotten some players, but they still do have quite a bit of homegrown Oklahoma girls who start on this team. And that's looking at Cheyenne Factor or Caitlin Carwile, who's going to be the starting right fielder, he said. Taylor Tuck, their catcher this year, is from Stillwater. So they've got a lot of Oklahoma girls who start on this roster, but he's gone into the portal. That's nothing new for him. And he's kind of retooled this roster through there. And that was not a jab at Mike Gundy, because he did go into the portal this year and he really did rebuild that team with some big portal additions. But Kenny Gajewski has been doing this for years, and it's really kept the Cowgirls consistent.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to signing day a little bit. You and I are filming this on a Friday. Of course, signing day was Wednesday a couple days ago. Not as big as the early signing day, but now that we know what the class looks like in total, what do you think of the Cowboys' class?
It's a good class. I think it's still weird to me that I'm always used to February's the big signing day, and now December's the big one, and so I get all excited for February signing days, and nothing really happens at some of the Power 5 schools. They take care of all this in December. but nonetheless, I think everybody in Tulsa, the Tulsa area, is going to be excited that Jamison Mejia from Broken Arrow signed with the Cowboys. They also stayed in state, got a Tyke Andrews from Enid. I think he's going to be an interesting prospect to watch. We went down to Texas and got another wide receiver, Jalen Pope, who set a Class 5A state championship record in receiving yards with 229 at Aledo, Texas. And they went over to Salt Lake City and got a running back, Sessi Velahi, I believe is how you say it, Patrick. I might have butchered it. I'm sorry if I did. But yeah, the February signing days become a little lackluster because now everything's done in December. But I think you've got a strong class, and I know some people are going to look at the star ratings, and it's a bunch of 3 stars. But I think we also need to look at just how Mike Gundy has run this program. You know, they like to bring the 3-star, develop them, turn them into 2 or 3 year starters and all that. I think it works great for what they like to do. I think the only downside now is just with the transfer portal, there might be some trepidation that once these kids do start starting and other schools take notice, then they might take off, which is tough for how you, if you're a development first program like OSU is, it becomes a little tough there. But nonetheless, I think it's a well-rounded class. If we go back to December, this is where most of the bigger names are, but the 4 additions, I think, on Wednesday were good for them.
So tell me more about this BA kid who signed. That was one of the surprises of signing day, correct? For OSU, right?
Yeah, so he had a few offers. He's a big kid, Patrick. I'll say that. I remember talking to him when I was still doing high schools, right before the season started, and he's like 6'6", 285, big tackle. And he had some offers. He had a Tulane offer, I believe, a Virginia offer. OSU'd been interested for a while. He's a strong option, I think. If we're looking at some of the in-state kids, he's a great lineman, and I think OSU should be pretty excited to be bringing him on, just based on size and skill, I think.
Have you gotten much kind of a feel for the you're living in Stillwater now, about the vibe around the football program now? They just seem to have so many exits through the portal. They got some gains in the portal as well. Signing day is now behind us. It's kind of the off season, so it's kind of a weird question to ask now, but I mean, just what's the vibe around football right now? You got any sense of anything?
I'll say this, I think there were some woes, I think, when all this was going down, a month ago, but I think it's calmed down, and I think a lot of these guys are just moving on with the season. The transfer portal has closed. They can still add guys if they wanted, but I highly doubt OSU does that. The portal's closed. The guys who wanted to leave have left. I think now the focus is they added, between the recruiting class and the transfer portal additions, Patrick, they've added 33 guys this offseason. That's like a third of the roster size.
Wow.
That might have been clickbait, Patrick. It might be more like a fourth of the roster size. Because I'd say between 100 and 120 guys are going to be on the roster at a time. But no, I think that's the focus now is getting these guys ingrained, especially when you've got transfer guys who you're expecting to start in 5 or 6 months. Beyond that, you're going to be playing a bunch of new teams this year too. If you're OSU, they got all 4 of the new Big 12 editions on their schedule. So yeah, I think it'd be silly to say that there wasn't a little bit of panic. Might not even be the right word, but yeah, there was some woes. But I think at this point in the season, you can't really do much about it.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Anything else on your mind, or should we get out of here?
I think we should get out of here, Patrick. Good talk, as always.
All right. Well, listen, you enjoy your Friday night and enjoy the TCU game tomorrow. What time is tip-off tomorrow?
It's going to be 1 p.m. tip-off at GIA.
All right. We love early games.